Thank you. Thanks, Sandeep. See, I am Veena Sinha, and I am from British Council. British Council is an organization that's spread across multiple countries, around 110 countries actually. And the purpose of British Council is to create better relationships between UK and all the countries across the world. Now they do it through knowledge. So I'm so glad that I'm part of this knowledge base, Sandeep. And while British Council is doing this across all the countries, 110 countries, and around 230 sites, they follow a framework called EDI. That's equality, diversity, and inclusion. And the best part is that this framework is cutting across all the countries in a similar manner for all the sites. So the requirement is that all these sites, all the countries follow this framework. Now there are 6 areas in this EDI framework, and one of the most important is in the areas of disability. Lot of work is being done across countries, but if you ask me, I think primarily the best work I would say is done in UK. In India, Noida, we have built up a small company called Shared Service Center, and here we have started engaging with a lot of NGOs, and we have started talking to Sarthak also, and we have started bringing in people. But as Sandeep was saying, it's not easy to bring in people, then train them, and then ensure that we retain them. So it's a big journey, but I'm very glad that I'm part of that journey, and I'm here right now with all of you. Thank you.
Veena, we'll come back to you. It's not the end. We'll have another round to really take out more what exactly you feel and what's globally and what's locally much more deeper. We have with us Dr. Muniraju S.B. from the NITI Aayog, and I would now request him to really put across his perspective, NITI Aayog's perspective in particular, for example. And while you're doing a lot of job for the future for this country, and you are trying to get us the best in terms of their planning and policies, I think your intervention and your thoughts on this will be very important for us.
Thank you, Bhargava, and thank you, Sarthak team, for this opportunity. In fact, NITI Aayog is a national institution for transforming India, which is an apex body of the Government of India and chaired by the Honorable Prime Minister. And definitely we have come across what are the constraints facing by the persons with disabilities. We, as per the census 2011, even till that 27% of the persons with disabilities children between the age of 5 to 9 years, they are not able to attend, they have not attended the school at all. And similarly, there is huge dropout rates among the children from the persons with disabilities. And also, you can enrollment ratio also. If you see the educational indicators for the children with disabilities, and there is a huge gaps in the enrollment ratio compared to general population, and even if compared to weaker sections, other weaker sections like tribals and all children. Considering all these constraints and difficulties facing by the persons with disabilities, and we have identified and we have come up with a strategy document, and we are working on the vision document for 2035, in which we want to ensure that India should achieve a 5 trillion economy. For this, everyone has to contribute, and the Government of India under the leadership of Honorable Prime Minister, we are all working day and night to make sure that equity, justice is delivered to the last persons of the society, including the persons with disabilities. In this line, I just want to highlight certain recommendations or visions or strategies adopted in the strategy document that is 73, where we are going to achieve 75 years of independence by 23. Some of the general drawbacks, what we have identified, the data relating to persons with disabilities. Even though we have 21 categories of persons with disabilities, the population, if you see that hardly 2.68% of population, whereas actual population proportion is more than 8 to 9%, if you see the persons with disabilities. And in this regard, we have recommended that in coming census 2021, all 21 categories of the persons with disabilities are counted and predicted, because as and we may formulate some policies or allocate resources or funds for the various programs, we need the data. That data is lacking in India. So that's why we have come up with this recommendation that in 21 census that all 21 categories of the disability should be incorporated and highlighted their representation. This may be people with visual disabilities, people with motor disabilities, and people with hearing disabilities and all those categories. Regarding healthcare, we have highlighted that provide aids and assistive devices to at least 3 lakh beneficiaries. We have Artificial Limbs Manufacturing Corporation, Mobility India, and many organizations are working for providing assistive devices. In this regard, we have a conference also on 3rd December where we are to promote innovation in disability assistive devices and promote the industry in this sector, because India is lacking industry in this field to produce more number of innovative devices which are beneficial for the persons with disabilities. Maybe it is senior citizens, maybe it is children, small infants, or maybe it is pregnant mothers and all those things. So in this regard, 3rd December, we have a conference, national level conference. We are inviting all international bodies, including UN partners, and also industry associations, maybe FICCI, CII, ASSOCHAM, and other organizations. At least conduct cochlear implant and corrective surgeries for 5,000 children we have recommended, and it is all on the ground are going, ministries are implementing this, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, persons with disabilities and all. We have recommended for setting up of early diagnostic and intervention centers at the district level to screen the children and identify special needs or requirements of the assistive devices at an early age, so that the course correction can happen in the running age. So that's why it is an initial step we have recommended for health corrections. Relating to employment and income generation, we are recommended for integrated skill development scheme. That scheme including National Trust scheme of Disha, that has to be strengthened, and we are working on that. And establish dedicated training centers for persons with disabilities to meet the requirements of the private sector. There is a gap in identification of the skills the industry required and the training provided by other training providers. So there is a gap. That's why we have to identify the skill requirement by the industry, and same thing can be imparted at the education level. Maybe it is skill ministry, Ministry of Labor and Employment, Health Ministry. There are multiple organizations, including state governments, are working for providing skill trainings. So these skill gaps required in the industry and skills provided in the institutions needs to be filled, addressed. So in that line, we have a strong recommendation on that. And building the institution, we are seeing that hardly there are some 8-9 national institutions to meet the requirements of the persons with disabilities. To enhance that institutional framework and strengthen the existing institutions, we have come up with various recommendations. Accessibility is one of the major issue in India, and as we all know that people still in rural areas feel that disability is a curse of some past generation or something. That attitude has to be changed. And in that line also, we are creating a lot of awareness among the masses, and national institutions and other organizations, civil society organizations. Maybe Sarthak also is working on that line to address this kind of disbelief. Make the Accessibility India campaign, and we have come across a lot of judgments, and even Supreme Court also ordered recently that whenever there is a procurement of buses, that should be buses should be disabled friendly and accessible to the persons with disabilities in this, and including creating infrastructure. We have come up with a building code where any building which is going to come up in urban areas, and even public buildings, public funded buildings, should have accessibility infrastructure. That's called universal design has been developed, and it is already under implementation. And we have multiple organizations like district disability rehabilitation centers that we have recommended, and also it is on the implementation that each and every district should have a district disability rehabilitation centers where persons with disabilities can go and approach them and get the needed support from the district disability rehabilitation center. And we have a composite regional centers, around 50 composite regional centers have been recommended, and also now, as of now, there might be around 30 CRCs have been opened across the country to meet the requirements of persons with disabilities. And in respect of education is concerned, we have recommended for the include courses in disability etiquette success stories on PwDs. No, there are number of persons with disabilities who have excelled in their fields. We can see that even in the lab before last year, there is a person from disability who secured first rank in this Indian administrative services. Such stories we need to highlight and motivate the persons with disabilities so to come up in their life. Similarly, we have recommended for enhancing the scholarship schemes in each and every level, like pre-metric, post-metric, national fellowships and national overseas scholarship programs and all. And also we have recommended to ensure that schools have at least one section of every class accessible under universal design guidelines. So this is slowly, gradually it is coming up. Maybe we can see that in future, any schools or public buildings are constructed will have the accessibility infrastructure. And also develop indicators for rating the schools on inclusivity. So there is, we are working on the rating the schools which have the inclusivity concepts and adapted the inclusivity infrastructure in that. With this, I conclude, and thank you so much, Sandeep ji, and hope we can work on the future also with Sarthak.
Sure. So I'll thank you. So Dr. Muniraju gave a very good perspective in terms of the planning which has been done and the plans for future as well, and a lot of other initiatives have already, we have seen them on the ground. Couple of thoughts on this, and which I would like you to also consider, is there should be some kind of a single window concept. Because as Sarthak, I have been supporting them for the last 10 years. Sometimes we have to run pillar to post to really get things done or get the right attention into this. So some kind of a single window concept, either at the central level or which you can translate to the state levels as well. Because this is a community which can't be that mobile that a normal person is. And we have a challenge, a huge challenge in people reaching out to the right people, right places, getting the things done. So maybe it could, is some kind of an assistance they are getting, it kind of an support they are getting, is there an application for any government work? If you combine into a single window, I think that will be a big benefit to these people. That's one thought process. You have made a lot of efforts in terms of accessibility, but one major one which is missing, possibly, I've seen in some areas as it is there, transportation, public transport. I think you need to really make it more amenable to these kind of people because they can't commute. We have got 20 centers across the country, and we have seen that how tough or how difficult it is for the PwDs, for especially the orthopedically challenged one or visually impaired, for example, to reach out to our centers. They don't get priorities on the bus stops, or a visually challenged guy is very difficult to board the bus. I've seen global examples in UK, for example. You go to London bus, how beautifully they are designed. What kind of a sensitivity is there amongst the drivers and the conductors? He will spend 5 minutes to get the person onboarded in spite of the fact that the person get deboarded at the next stop. So as a passenger, you may feel, oh my God, this is too much of time, but the kind of attention and effort it happens. So one is the infrastructure being developed accordingly, and thirdly, the mindset of the people to support these kind of things. Because people go brash and rash if these things are done, even by some of the staff. But there's a lot. So something to educate people, bring the mindset in, getting them, if they are working also, they should get that kind of an impact. So there's a very large holistic role which you may also have to play, apart from the great initiatives what you just mentioned. So maybe at some point of time you can also give some thoughts to this as well and make it much more robust and acceptable by the people, and they suffer the least.
Thank you, Sandeep. And definitely, Government of India and many state governments, they are well aware about the constraints and problems of the persons with disabilities. And we are also concerned about, because they're also part of the society and we're all human beings. And considering that, that's why we have encouraged that all districts should have district disability rehabilitation centers, which is nothing but one single window system. All this district disability rehabilitation centers are headed by the district welfare officers, who is a class 1 officer. He has to attend, he and his team, entire team has to attend to the problems or constraints of the persons with disabilities. And there are some states which have already established these district disability centers. There are few states, hardly some 5-6 states are yet to come up with this district disability rehabilitation centers. We are continuously in touch with them, and definitely we will address this issue. And regarding accessibility, Sandeep, I was in Japan for almost 20 days under JICA program. And I have come across these countries, they have very good human approach, including the drivers and the attendants, even in the metro trains. They have very good facilities for the persons with disabilities. They have separate coaches for the persons with disabilities, where they have empty space for accommodating them, and seats are very large and all those things are available. Definitely we have taken it, and in the vision document which is going to come up shortly, then we'll incorporate all these provisions. Thank you.
Quickly, I know you guys are doing a lot of things, but I want to just share something. I travel metro because I don't want to add carbon footprint. And I'm so amazed to see that, and I travel always the ladies compartment, which is the first compartment. And I'm so amazed to see that there are, visually impaired people traveling in the compartment, ladies compartment, whether it's men or women, and there are assistants who actually bring them to the seat, and then when they get down, there are again assistants coming, and that's happening in Delhi. So I'm really very proud of that. So thank you so much. Somebody is doing really a very good job. Thank you.
That's a great input. We need to really bring it up from the metro to the buses as well. That will be very great. So after listening to Veena for her perspective, and then from Dr. Muniraju, who has been more futuristic, more planning, let's see what's happening on the ground. So we go to Mr. S.B. Singh, who is part of the Ministry of Labour and Employment. I am sure we get his perspective and how much is happening and how much more can we do to enable this sector much faster and better. Mr. Singh.
Thank you, Mr. Sandeep. Thank you, Mr. Agarwal, for giving me to present my ministry's perspective here. I'm in Ministry of Labour and Employment under Directorate General of I'm in Directorate General of Labour. Under Ministry of Labour, we are having 21 National Career Service Centers for Differently Ables. Earlier it used to be called as VRCs, Vocational Rehabilitation Center. These centers are basically stationed in some particularly state capitals. Basic work of these centers is, first of all, evaluation of PwD candidates, and then giving them proper training, and last work is rehabilitation. So these centers are basically multidisciplinary service centers. Primarily these centers work as evaluation laboratories. Whenever a PwD candidate visits our centers, we assess its whatever is the residual capacity available with them. Any PwD candidates visit our center, we assess their residual capacity, and then we provide training to them. We skill them as per the capacity available with them, and we plan courses according to their residual capacity. After training them, we try to place them, we rehabilitate them either in self-employment or through in wage employment through job fairs and other things. we have constructed 8 barrier-free state-of-art buildings for these centers. These are particularly in Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad, Kanpur, Kolkata, Bhubaneswar, Agartala and Guwahati, with a view to provide disabled-friendly environment to persons with disability. One more building is coming up in Una, Himachal Pradesh, which is likely to be commissioned in next 1.5 years. Basically, here in our centers, we are getting disabled persons who are dropouts, who have not completed their studies due to various reasons. They are from economically weaker sections, and the big challenge with them, for them, is to come up to these centers. Actually, our activities are there with the collaboration of state governments and other NGOs. But in most of the cases, I found that these candidates who come up to our centers, basically, there is a lack of motivation in them. And initially, when they come up to their centers, there is a lot of scope for motivating them to take up this activity. And whenever हम जब कभी भी उनको ट्रेन करते हैं and जब हम उनको लेते हैं, तो वो जब उनका लेवल ऊंचा उठता है, तो उनके अंदर एक आंखों में चमक आती है, और वो देखते हैं कि they can also do something in their जो उनकी लाइफ में कर सकते हैं. हमारे इन सेंटर्स पे वी आर डूइंग लॉट ऑफ वर्क, और इसमें जो बेसिक वर्क है वो ये है कि पर्टिकुलरली कुछ डिसिप्लिन्स हैं, जैसे these disciplines are there. Skill development training in 8 trades, that is DTP and print publishing assistant, ornamentalist and handwork specialist, repair and maintenance of windows and split ACs, integrated course in hair, skin and makeup, arc and gas welder, repair and maintenance of personal electronic devices, electrician, domestic and hospitality assistant. We provide training to 15 categories of persons with disabilities. And basically, after giving them training, we try to place them, and with the various CSR initiative, we organize job fair and placement drives. The employers wish to, in these jobs fairs, the employer wish to recruit best talents, right job seeker with appropriate qualification, skill and experience, and skill providers PIA with their course offerings, as well as trained job seekers. Placements organizations with job vacancies on behalf of multiple employers, counselors for guiding the job seekers in choosing the appropriate job, and with the appropriate employers, etc., attend to exchange their requirement with this platform. Basically, the challenges in the process of rehabilitation of PWDs we are facing, that there is a skill gap between industry and training agencies. What is the requirement of agencies, and what is the training provided to these candidates? There is a big gap. So there is a need to have a proper assessment of these requirements, and then train them accordingly. Then mobility of PWDs to distance places for employment. This is also a big challenge. Employers do not provide disabled-friendly environment in their establishment. This is the third important challenge. Adequate special educator and vocational instructors to deal with wide range of disabilities are also not available. Then there is a minimal family support for assisting PWDs in pursuing employment/training, especially for women with disabilities. inadequate training centers for PWDs in their vicinities of habitation. Basically, these centers are there in state capitals only. So for the big states, the candidates from far-off places, they are very helpless to attend these courses. Then inadequate, then weak institutional support for post-training placement. When they are there with our centers, we provide them this placement support, but after they complete their training and go to their homes, if they get that placement or right type of self-employment, then it is okay. But after after tracking them, after some time, it becomes very difficult. Then, as our friends already mentioned, absence of disabled-friendly public transport network in most of the places is not available. Though we are having some good practices in Delhi, but in other part of countries, it is mostly unavailable. Then, placement avenues are mostly urban-centric. We need to have these centers in rural areas also, or the centers which can cater the need of rural areas. These centers, this is very important. Another part which my friend Dr. Muniraju has mentioned is the regarding data gap. Actually, for making any policy, for making any program, the first requirement is the data. I was there in NSSO, and some 3 years back, we were having a survey on disabled persons. The big challenge while getting the data on PWDs or disabled person is to actually go to the household and get the actual data of the disabled persons. Particularly if there is some mental disability, it is very difficult to get proper data. Some of the people don't even recognize that there is a mental disability. Another point which I want to mention here is that for providing training to mentally disabled persons, this is a big challenge. Though some of them are excellent in their performance, and in some of the centers, particularly in Chennai, I have observed that the persons who are trained in electronic equipments training, they are sought after by some of the industries. Particularly, we have placed some persons in Dell, and we got a positive feedback from employers that they are very happy and they need more persons of this type of trained persons. So, in my view, this is a very big challenge. First of all, to have a data on these disabled persons. And then one of the important issues is there for the economically weaker sections of the people. In most of the cases, these persons are disabled. These disabled persons are ignored. They are just left as they are. So we have to, particularly there is a need to start, like NGOs, they should go there and pick up these persons from there, because they don't know what to do with, their family don't know how to approach right place, right person and right people for rehabilitation of their wards, and that is the big problem in rehabilitation of these people. One more point which was raised by Mr. Sandeep. Actually, we are working in silos. There should be a holistic approach, and there should be only one organization which deals with all these things. And in some of the cases, we don't know even that this type of facility is available at a place. So this information dissemination along with a proper holistic approach is also required for the people, disabled people. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Singh, for your perspective. Very insightful information. So I feel that the government definitely is doing a lot of efforts, which we are a beneficiary as well in some way or the other at Sarthak and NAI both. But there are still some gaps where we can complement your efforts. It's not that government can reach out or government can operationalize these areas. You leave it to us, you have a trust in us, then we can do the implementation part of it, we can reach out. But while we can reach out and do our implementation part, we need a lot of support from you basically. So for example, we have got 20 centers, and some of these centers across the country are in private buildings where we pay huge rents to the owners. Some of these centers are there by the government, but we have no certainty that these centers will remain with us forever or for eternity or for at least a long lease, for example. So while we have the infrastructure available to us from the government, we do manage with the operational expenses with a lot of support which comes to us from the corporates, because we don't charge the student who gets skilled there at these centers. So my submission would be that that area also you should help us. If we can identify your centers in some way or the other, the skill centers or some ITIs or some other institutes which you have under your purview, which we can utilize and maybe we can adjust the timings, do some off hours or lean hours or some days and stuff like that. That will be very helpful for us in terms of reaching out. Number two, you talked about you need special trainers, special educators. Now, with the way we have come up over the last 10 years, like we have trained 16,000 candidates and given them employment. So there's enough capacity development which has happened within the Sarthak and its fraternity. So you can really take us on board or take some of our staff who has been trained on this into your system, where you can definitely support them and they can give you a lot of support. So that train facility or train the trainer kind of a concept we can adopt and give you back. In terms of placement, especially in rural areas, you must have noted the tagline for today is the 150th job fair happening concurrently. So in the last 10 years, we have conducted job fairs and they have been a tremendous success. And this is the 150th job fair. I'm sure you'll see between today and tomorrow the flavor of that. So we do conduct these job fairs, but we need to also push some of the government vehicle, government machinery. Private sector does come in. I have seen myself a couple of fairs where the private industry is there in abundance. 20, 30 employees are there. They provide on-the-spot employment, but your initiative, your support to conduct these fairs could also be very helpful for us to generate and make sure that we reach out to the rural areas. Because if we go to rural areas, we need to have a place, need to have an infrastructure and support to organize that. Plus, the real question of getting jobs in the rural segment also is an important challenge. While we are losing jobs in the urban sector, but we need to also think of the rural, and I agree with you. And rural, it could be more successful because these PwDs are mostly like people who would not like to commute long distances. They would like to do their work within their area of influence, for example, or wherever they live in a society there or in a very nearby areas, because they have got 10 other challenges, they moved out of that space. So creating entrepreneurship in those areas would be a very good opportunity for us. If you can identify those areas, we can build those skills in our training programs, skill them and get them back to get employment under your umbrella. So very good points, and thank you for supporting my seek on the silos as well. I think it's very important for all of us to go on to a same speed and same thought process. Could get some thoughts from NITI Aayog, from the government and from the British Council. I will go ahead and go back to Veena in terms of what kind of challenges you see that you have been based out of New Delhi. So certainly you have a good insight between what happens here, what happens in UK. There is a lot of great programs which are there in UK to support these people and communities. What do you see with it, how you can support by means of the British intervention here or even the corporates who are working here to support them? We have identified some of these areas and you listen to both of us. So what is your take and how best can you support this to really make it more collaborative and get the international experience also? So while we talked of many other things, but there's a lot of things which can be done using technology. It's the fastest way to reach out to these people, enable them and bring them to the forefront. So what's your thought, how technology from the British companies can be helpful or otherwise to assess this domain?
There is, this program that we run that's called Reasonable IT Adjustment within British Council. It is primarily being done in UK. So unfortunately, we have not been able to spread this across the globe. And in Noida, definitely we want to bring in this program, which is called Reasonable IT Adjustment. What they do in UK is that whenever anybody is onboarded within British Council, they first do an assessment. They see that whatever desk that person is being provided, is it disability friendly? Maybe the screen needs to be bigger, maybe the phone buttons need to be bigger, maybe he or she, they need some, speech translator, they need something else. So all that checklist is there, which they run through, all the people that British Council takes in. We want to have this program spread across all the countries, and especially in Noida also we want to do. Another thing that I would like to say is that I think lot of things you two people have shared, and I'm so proud that India is doing so much. One thing I think more that we can do here in India is, I feel that, if you don't measure, you don't deliver. In British Council, there is a very good measurement methodology that we use that's called DAF. That is Diversity Assessment Framework. Now this measurement we do every 2 years across all the countries and all the sites. And I'm so proud to say that Noida site has been performing very well in terms of DAF scoring. So I think this is something which I can share maybe at some time with all of you. And if that measurement happens across, across the organizations in India, I think that should help. In corporate, see what I have seen in happening with my managers and with people in other organizations also is that managers feel that the moment I take a person, I onboard a person, that person should be 100% productive. Right, every manager wants, because they have a lot of deliverables to be delivered, and quickly they had to do it, say, yesterday. So they want people who are very skilled. So I think one of you did mention that lack of confidence which is there in people who have some disability. So my request to all people who are there in India, especially with some disability or the other, is that please develop confidence. You are no less than anybody else, because see, job problems are there with everybody. Even with me, I am a head IT in a big corporate center, but I am also wanting, I also need to be always reskilling myself. So I have to take care of my skills. Similarly, I think it is every individual's responsibility to ensure that they are skilled and they are ready for any job that is being offered. So I think these are some things which if as individuals people can do, and if NGOs can do, I think it will be helpful for us to take more and more people. And plus, I think, see, I'm aware that corporates are being asked to put, say, 2% of their profits to CSR. Rather than that, if corporates are being asked to ensure that they induct at least, 2% of the staff with disability, I think that would be a really good policy which we can roll out in India. I think all corporates are joined up. We could do that. So I think there are a lot of possibilities, lot of things that can be done together, I feel.
Thank you, Veena. I think there is to induct a definite percentage of people with disabilities. Mr. Singh, you would definitely.
Actually, recently this has been mandated by an act, PwD Act 2016. 4% of the person with disabilities are required to be, all the posts are required to be filled up with persons with disability. And in this process, government has asked all the departments to identify the posts which can be held by these persons with disability, or the persons with the disability can be appointed to those posts across all the cadres. There is exemption for in some cases which requires some special requirement is there for those posts. Otherwise, all the posts which there is a requirement that government will identify, each department will identify which are the posts which can be manned through these 4% of the persons with disability.
Great. So Veena, about Sarthak, we have been recently allocated a piece of land in Gurgaon in a very prime sector, where by the government of Haryana, it's been given not free, but at least at a very good rate. So we are trying to build up a global development center here.
Wow.
So the idea there is to bring in a lot of global players with their technologies, with their thought processes, and we would also put our showcase there in terms of what we have been doing, what we can do. So we are needing badly interaction of the corporates or support from the corporates to an extent where we can really meet out that cost which we need to require to build up that center, but showcasing the technology from the various organizations, either in UK or wherever in the world, we need to pull them a lot and see if they can support it. So monetary support as well as technology support for those centers are welcome. We can separately offline discuss that how we can do that, but certainly that's a thought open, and it's a message to NITI Aayog and the government as well, that in their intervention, if they come across the organizations who are wanting to do this kind of an act and be collaborative, I think we have been recognized very well by the government that yes, we are the agency who can do this work well. So that's why the government of Haryana did allocate us this, and we are on the journey to design that center and to bring it up in a very short period.
Awesome.
Thank you for that.
Good.
And we'll appreciate efforts on this direction. So not the last but the least, for the second round, Dr. Muniraju, your thoughts after having heard Mr. Singh and Veena in terms of what more you can improvise to benefit this sector in your future documents, in your future plans, and something which you can kickstart to do some kind of a more of a what you call a one window kind of a concept. You did mention there is, but still we feel that a gap is huge. So some quick fix solutions for this sector, if you can really push across to the center as well as to the states under the dynamic leadership of the current Prime Minister, I think we can do much faster. He loves Divyangjan, he has supported them a lot. So something which we can really seek from him and his offices, for example, and if you can really support us, we can come with tens of things, but we need your support to really make it much more. Your thoughts?
After this 2015 Accessibility India campaign has been launched by the present Prime Minister, which has given a very big push for the sector. And because of these initiatives, and we are all aware that 2016 Act, Persons with Disabilities Act, it has lot of provisions for the empowerment of the persons with disabilities. We have not only employment opportunities, but also in development programs. Each and every department has to earmark at least minimum 5% of their funds for the development of the persons with disabilities. It may be infrastructure, it may be skill development, it may be welfare, it may be housing, it may be health sector, any for that matter. We have 99 such different departments and ministries which are working. And if you take the overall budget, it comes to around 11 lakh crores of the centrally scheme budgets. If you take 5% of each scheme budget, should be earmarked for the persons with disabilities. This is a huge amount. And the only thing is, these all ministries have to work in a convergence manner. So, as Singh Sahab has suggested, that every ministry, they are working in silos. And they are focusing only their responsibilities. If they all come together, and NITI Aayog is working on that line to bring the more convergence and come up with inclusive development and integrated development of the persons with disabilities. So in this way, we have a lot of provisions, as well as we are coming with new visions, and where we can establish collaborations. And in that way, in fact, I'll discuss the other matter.
Sure.
They came and met Honorable Vice Chairman NITI Aayog, and we are in the process of collaborating with Sarthak.
Thank you. Dear fellow panelists, and we did conduct this tour. Any last intervention? Any one of you would like to mention or make it? Veena, yes, sure.
I'd like to add that, there are big IT organizations like TCS, HCL and other organizations. British Council I'm not counting because it's a very small organization here in India, and we IT people are very small numbers. But HCL, TCS, they are very big organizations. If we can tie up with them and get some apps created for, especially for these people, I think that would be really good.
Sure. Just to give you a flavor, that whatever the figures we mentioned about 16,000 candidates, if you go to the sector-wise employment, the 55% have gone into the IT sector.
Wow, I'm so happy.
So that's the figures we have for these people. They are well focused, well disciplined, They stick to the job, not like a normal human being will whisk away for tea, coffee all the time. So very, very focused, very energetic, very efficient. There have been studies published by Lemon Tree Hotels, for example. If you go through Google, you'll find it, that their productivity went up by 25% when they started employing people from this sector. So they have a mandate of 15% being employed in Lemon Tree Hotels from this sector, and the productivity has gone up by 25%. So there's a huge, tremendous advantage to many of the corporates are there who are supporting us within the audience. Tremendous advantage. They have really helped us to employ these people. We'll listen examples during the Tuesday's intervention. So thank you very much for this. I will now open the house for question and answers. We have few minutes left more. So आपके प्रश्न या आपके कोई किसी स्पेसिफिक प्रश्न को आप पूछना चाहते हैं तो आप अपना नाम बता सकते हैं या अपनी अगर कोई साइन भाषा में बोलना है तो वो एंड क्वेश्चन किससे पूछ रहे हैं वो भी जरा बता दीजिए तो विल बी इन अ बेटर सिचुएशन टू आंसर दोस. Yes, please.
I'm Sangeeta Robinson. I head sustainability for PVR Cinemas, and I've recently finished, completed creating accessibility for 50, and I'm working on the other 50. I think it's very relevant if I share what else the thing, because I'm currently co-authoring a set of 17 guidebooks that are based on the SDGs. And I'm particularly writing section 8.5, which is about employability for all. So my request is that if somebody has some sterling case studies, to please send them to me, Sarthak. And it will be going through a rigor of a Six Sigma process. I cannot assure whether those case studies will be used, but they will be representative of India. My question is to the gentleman from the Ministry of Labour. Sir, you talked about your CRCs. Could you share with us what is the employability percentage on an annual basis of these CRCs? Because sadly in government there's no point of having 4% because never, since the reservation started, never has the employment in government gone beyond 1%. In fact, it's hovered around 0.7 and 0.8%. So having 4% means nothing.
Actually, whatever training we are providing them, in most of the cases, if we are not able to place them in wage employment, particularly if they are capable for that, in most of the cases, we are able to provide them self-employment. We are able to train them for self-employment, and through some CSR initiatives, we are providing them just like, as far if they are trained in tailoring, we are providing them sewing machines and other things. So, as far as we are concerned, in roughly 70% to 80% cases, in some employment, either in self-employment or in wage employment, we are able to place them.
Definitely, Sangeeta, your work is commendable. So as Sarthak also will definitely see to be a part of answering you a lot of stuff already.
There are 17 guidebooks and case studies will be published as well.
Sure.
So Lemon Tree, of course, is one, but if there are any other representatives, I'd be happy to include. Thank you.
We'll do that. I saw a hand raised at the back side. Yeah. Gentleman on your right, that madam.
I'm Dr. Veena Sinha, and my main thrust is to include disabled people in the real normal life. Now, as people have...
Could you keep your mic closer, please?
People have some, they are not very sure if the disabled people, if we train them for self-employment, etc., they will really be getting jobs outside in the normal world. So as Ms. Veena had pointed out, it's very important that we really do not create funds to train disabled people. Rather, we have to put them in the job so that they earn money for themselves. And this is what I also asked, if I have a boutique for myself, I'll employ somebody. Rather than I'll go to the people who are working on disabled people to give them money to be able to become something. So this is very important that we we don't need organizations to make people becoming something. We have to create jobs, actual jobs for them so that they are there. We have to give them what they want so that they use it. We don't have to stack the clothes or things or, money for those people who are the, middlemen for them and us. So this is very important that if we are here in this forum, then we should eliminate this kind of gap. The middlemen should not be there, and there should direct contact between the disabled person and the people who are really helping the disabled persons. This is very important that we become aware of this fact. And this is what I really want to know from you people here, particularly from the government department. Is government doing and thinking in these directions, knowing very well that the funds which are given either by the government or by the private people, they are not really being utilized in the manner and for the purpose for which they are given. So please, I want this kind of answer.
Mr. Singh, I think.
Actually, in Ministry of Labor, in VRCs, we don't have such type of fund which is being given to anybody else. Rather, we train our PwDs in our centers as per their residual capacity or in custom-made programs for them. And we try to place them through our job fairs, job drives, and we try to connect them with the industries and employers. And wherever it is not possible for all of them to place for a wage employment, we, through CSR initiative, we try to get them some equipments so that they are self-employed. So, what are your concerns? I understand. This is particularly relating to Ministry of Social Justice. They are providing some funds and to different organizations for the welfare of PwDs, and I think they will be able to answer this question.
Yes, madam. We have come across, in fact, NITI Aayog is making budgetary analysis, and definitely there are gaps in fund allotted and fund utilization every year, because the gaps, it is happening, the ultimate end implementing agencies, there are some constraints. And when we release the funds to the state government and state government in turn to district to block and block to implementing agencies, there are some practical problems which are reporting, and to address these problems we are working on. And definitely over the years we will come out of such practical problems, and we can see that now, as we are all aware that Jan Dhan and Mobile and Trinity, JAM Trinity, it is Jan Dhan, Aadhaar and Mobile Trinity, so that whatever the funds we are releasing, see that it is go to hand beneficiaries directly into the bank account, or in that way we are working. Definitely we know the issue and we will come out with the solutions also. Thank you.
So just to add on from my side to the question from Dr. Rekha Singhal, I just came across an organization yesterday called Karo Sambhav. And I'm sure some of you must have heard about it. They are into e-waste collection and disposal in terms of giving them treatment and then making it final back to the supplier, because there are certain mandates in the electronic waste area to really 25% of your new produce should have recycled waste into it. So that's a complete ecosystem being set up by this organization. It's a very young organization. They did a fantastic job. So I'm wanting these Divyangjans to be utilized there, because they have a lot of collection points across the country. And as I said earlier in my intervention, that these people cannot be much mobile. They need to be around their local areas or sitting there across and doing the work. So we're just trying to, this is a new potential area where we can really allocate them a lot. And this is a huge all India spread organization, which is doing a very structured and a very formal collection and disposable and recycling of the e-waste in this country. So we'll definitely connect this organization with Sarthak as well, but definitely look forward to most of these Divyangjans, once they are skilled and trained, to become entrepreneurs by themselves and even be a part of this revolution which is being done by this Karo Sambhav program. It's an organization name, but the program itself is is enabling a lot in this area, and they're soon getting into the plastic waste as well, supported by a lot of big corporates. So huge area, huge potential. We have to just think in the right direction, and I think we can provide a lot of opportunities for them to become entrepreneurs by themselves or do service or do some jobs. Any other question, please? Sorry, I have a couple of friends. Yeah, please. At the right at the front, mic.
Sorry,
Good morning,
I have
sir.
few points.
One at a time. Let the lady take the advantage.
Sorry. So, first of all, good morning to all. My name is Madhu Tiwari and I'm working as an assistant manager recruitment with Global Logic Technologies Limited in Gurgaon. We are working into IT, software services and product development. And it's been 3 years. I am leading the diversity and inclusion hiring program for our organization. I don't have any specific question, but there are a few things that I would like to highlight. The first point is the CSR activity that ma'am talked about is, I just want to mention that we do have 18% of our team size that is, specifically we have hired people with different abilities, including autism and dyslexia. So, and Sarthak has been very helpful in that, and I really appreciate their contribution. But one, I'd like to highlight that, the people who are dealing at the ground level with these people, with disability, they need to be little sensitized, because the kind of experience we have with the candidates at our place, they do not have the proper communication about the job description. They do not know where to report, whom to connect. They just get random messages, and this is really dissatisfactory. So this is one point I would like to highlight, that where we are planning how we need to lead in future, what kind of job opportunities we need to create. At least we need to be little sensitive. Whatever opportunities are there in the market, at least we are able to provide them. Because that is the very initial stage, and doesn't matter how many conferences we are doing, if we are not able to connect psychologically with the candidate, we are not able to give them that satisfaction and the respect they need in the society. So this is my humble request, that the management and the government organization, they should make sure that people who are connecting at the ground level with the candidates, they need to be trained how they need to connect with these people, how they need to treat them. So this is only ask I have.
So, Veena would like to take this, please.
Can I?
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm so glad that you brought in this subject. I completely empathize. I completely understand where you are coming from. And it's not easy there. So that's why I think as leaders, it's our responsibility to create this environment. And I would just like to quickly say that there is one person from British Council who is here. Her name is Shalu. Shalu, if you can just say hi. And she has come, she wanted to come here, but two of her colleagues said that I will take the responsibility to ensure that she comes here and she's comfortable. So Piyush and Parnita, say hi. So these are the people who actually care for the people with disability, and I think there is a leadership who is encouraging this environment. So you are absolutely right, but it has to start from individuals. Every leader has to take this responsibility, please. So that's my also request.
I'll just add to what Vinita says, very right. We each one of us has an individual social responsibility. So we need to be a hand-holding personality within the organization for these people with different abilities. That will really help them, and the mindset would be much better improvised. Next question, please. Just one or two questions, and then we need to
Good morning,
close.
sir. Sir, my name is Syam Dhanak. I am founder and General Secretary, National Association for the Blind, Uttarakhand. Sir, my request is, as Dr. Muniraju ji said, that DDRCs are very important for the disability sector. I am also running a DDRC in Nainital, sir. I would like to request to you, sir, we find some problem. Actually, the guideline is proper, but the problem is that the state and central government should have more clarity on that, sir. Because when we are going to employ the employee, the guideline is not clear, sir. because the district administration cannot follow it properly as you required, sir. Because in remote areas, we don't have any other facilities. The DDRCs can be managed very well if the guideline is clear, sir. Basically on the honorarium basis. Because for employing the experts, there should be little clear guidelines, sir. It could be easier to run the disabilities, DDRCs, because you are planning to start the DDRCs, but what I feel that we are not able to run them properly because there are lack of some clarity in guidelines, sir. Thank you.
Doctor.
Thank you for bringing to our notice. Definitely guidelines are clear. Maybe there are some hiccups. And we have given all the assistance, and definitely you can write to us in case if you have some constraints in getting funds or appointing the personnel required for addressing the issues. And we'll resolve the issue. Right, sir?
Hello.
Yeah, this one last question now because the next panel is ready. Yeah, please go ahead.
Actually, my point is,
It's working. You just keep it closer.
hello. Actually, my name is Pradyut Banerjee. I have come from Calcutta. I am now a retired but a freelance professor in various universities all over the world or India. But my connection with the Sarthak is just 6 months, so I have yet to understand the organization. But I am connected with at least some 4 or 5 NGOs here, and abroad also in America I am connected with 3 or 4. Now my question is, as the NITI Aayog person is sitting here, so my approach is that cost is a beautiful and wonderful and most difficult subject to analyze. Now, just a few moments back, somebody was talking about the space and the renting of the house and to have some institution. Sarthak has got 20 institutions such all over. I can tell you, I was in government in 1994, and I was the joint director in the Ministry of Industries in the small scale. My boss was P.C. Alexander. That time also I worked 10 years in the government in various ministries, and afterwards when I was in Siemens, I have also come across various government offices. I have seen technological upliftment and all these things. Initially the bill made. After the technology improvement, like a telecom point I am telling you, that one system when it was crossbar or Strauger, a building design was made. When finally the building was completed.
So could you just specify to the question what you are seeking? Yeah.
Switch has been, it was 1/4 the building has been used, but remain was unutilized. They have never thought of it is dumped with the broken chairs, all this. And I have seen that all over India, various offices. I mean, lot of spaces are available. I will request NITI Aayog, can you send all to the government department how much utilized space you have got and how much allotted. And the unutilized place, you can do some business by giving it rented to somebody and also give a small portion to institute like some NGOs and all this sort of.
Thank you.
It's a good suggestion, Professor Saab, and definitely there are multiple institutions which are sharing their infrastructure with for organizing some events and all. Even the present building which we are sitting, it's a government building, and we are utilizing by providing for organizing events and all. Definitely, it has to be the thought of the official who are posted there in the organization. There is no barrier or ban or restrictions on the officials to not to give or not to share the facilities available. They can definitely share it. But only thing is that's what, as the official who are sitting there, they have to think of that line and make efficient use of such infrastructure. So this is how. And yeah, of course, definitely it is happening in across the country and different states and different public buildings. Yeah. That needs to be addressed, in fact. Thank you.
Certainly. So thank you very much to the audience as well. I'm sure a lot of deliberations. Oh, you, Mr. Singh, sorry.
Thank you for your suggestions. We are already in the process of providing some infrastructure support to some of the NGOs and for this noble cause, and we are working in this direction. Number one. Number two, Ministry of Labor as a digital initiative has launched a National Career Service Portal. This portal is, there are various stakeholders on this portal. Job seekers are there, employers are there, counselors are there. And we are also having a help desk and call centers to provide supports for all the stakeholders. I request all the employers here who are present here to go through that portal and register with that portal. They can get their right candidate from this portal. Even we are having a separate chapter is there for job seekers, differently able job seekers also. So,
Can you repeat that because people may have missed it? The name of the portal.
National Career Service Portal, ncs.gov.in. ncs.gov.in. This is the digital initiative of Ministry of Labor, launched in 2015. At present, we are having roughly more than 1 crore 2 lakhs active job seekers on the portal. And, but the number of employers is very less. That is, we are hardly having 26,000 employers on our portal. You can post your job requirement there, and you can get right kind of candidate for your job requirements. Special sections are there for differently able job seekers also. You can post your requirement there and you can get the right candidate.
So I think, thank you, Mr. Singh, for this. With this, we close this session. And now over to you, Bhavna.
Excuse me, sir. A question mera.
You can take it later on, please. We have the next speaker in place. So I'm sorry. We need to take it offline.
Sir, also, there's a question for corporate sector to the disabilities.
Doesn't matter. They are here only. They are not running away. Please take the question.
Thank you so much, sir.
After the session.
Now I request Mr. Raj Kapoor and Dr. Sudhir Gupta to kindly felicitate our esteemed dignitaries on the dais. Partha Rastogi to please join us on the stage, please.
Also before it disappears.
So we look forward to your support. We have to do lots, we have to go miles, and we would need your blessings and guidance. A lot of things we see totally in common with your work. Thank you. Thank you. Can you just take a picture for
To Sandeep sir also.
No, in-house guy, I don't accept. Yeah, you're the pillar. You're the pillar.
Thank you so much to all.